Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at another rank 1 in the world team for the Open Ultra League by a Japanese player. Again, definitely check them out, link is in the description. They always hit, I think they need to hit like rank 1 in the world every season, it's kinda wild. But we're going to have a team here with Kaiwei in the lead. I'm going to have, for me at least, a say-so of the Giratina. I'm not sure how they play the backline, I'm not sure about the movesets of the backline either, but I went for the Shadow Sneak, which is going to allow you to give a little bit of better coverage against those steel types that might want to swap in if you're going to have a fighting type Pokemon in the lead. And then we're going to have in the back the Mandibuzz, and honestly, this team worked super well for me. I am unbeaten with this team, I won every single game with this team, and you're going to see it here as well. Also, I'm a little bit in the lower elo range though, I'm like at 2400 at the current time, because I don't really have time to play all my battles right now, so I decide to forfeit basically all of them to give people free wins. So that's most likely also one reason why, but still, I had a lot of decent players against me, and nobody was really able to beat this team, which is kind of wild. And so we're going to take a look here now at how this team is being played, and what you kind of want to see, and like what you kind of want to try to do. And I have to say already, you have to basically think about this team again in an ABB style, because you're going to have common weaknesses in the back with Mandibuzz as well as the Giratina. Both of those Pokemon are going to be weak to Fairy-type Pokemon as well as Ice-type Pokemon, and both of those kinda get beaten, I guess, from your lead. But still, Fairy-type Pokemon can be a little bit of a trickier one, and we encountered quite a few, so definitely stay tuned for those matchups as well, as the first opponent is just having a great time here with their MEWeedle, and I think they're forfeited now with like 1 HP, so great job there. But we can move on into the second battle. Now let's see what they're going to run here. We're going to encounter Cresselia in the lead. Not ideal for us, but our back 9 is kind of decent for us, so we're going to be able to swap out, and we're going to get out the Clefable. This will allow us to go at least for some Shadow Sneaks here, which is, I guess, the best move to hit them with, and this is going to get them a little bit lower. But because my team is so weak against Fairy-type Pokemon, I decided to use a shield here onto the Moonblast, which would do a ton of damage, maybe even knock me out or put me into range where they can farm me down. So I decided to go for Shadow Sneak now, and yes, we're going to get the opponent low, but of course we're going to use another shield here. So I'm 2 shields down. You most likely think this is kind of risky, but in my opinion, this is worth it. I can now go for the baits, because like the reason for the opponent is like they're definitely going to shield anyway. They're still going to get to Moonblast and knock me out. And like this, I should be able to get both of my shields back here, which I do, as well as I can now swap out into my Kaiwei, and the opponent makes a huge mistake here by swapping into their Talonflame. This will allow me to just go straight for the Stone Edge, get the instant knockout, and they can go back into their Cresselia now, which is so much better for me anyway, like huge mistake by the opponent. But we were able to basically get now both shields from the opponent as well, get the Cresselia a little bit lower, got rid of the Talonflame, and have the Clefable in the deep red health, which is just so nice for me. And what I can also do here is I can play a little bit around this current situation. I can go for Stone Edge, and you see me here swapping out into my Giratina, because this will allow me to get out the Clefable. But not only this, I know that the opponent has so much energy that they most likely would get to a move against my other Pokemon as well, against my Mandibuzz. So I decided to go back into my Kaiwei, which I just saved, and like this, I'm only going to have a Mandibuzz against the Cresselia left, and I will be able to win this game. So, even though there was a horrible scenario for me, we're cleverly able to maneuver around it, as we're going to encounter now a spicy pick here, which I actually saw some people hit Legend with, which is Rayquaza in the, Ultra League here. I saw actually like 2 or 3 people hitting Legend with Rayquaza, which is absolutely massive. Because this Pokemon has Breaking Swipe, it's really, really decent now. And honestly, it's, as you can see already, it's a resisted matchup for them. Like, they're only going to do resisted damage, and still they're going to get me fairly low. But they decided to swap out into their Greninja, which allows me to go for some Sacred Swords. And here I decided to go into my Mandibuzz afterwards. Could have also went for the Giratina, because it's very likely that they're going to go for the Hydro Cannon here. But still, I feel like Mandibuzz was the play to go here, especially against a potential incoming again of the Rayquaza, which is happening here right now as well. It's going to be the better Pokemon to have for it, and I can let this next move go through as well. It's going to be again the Breaking Swipe, doing some decent damage, but I can go for a Foul Play. This Foul Play is actually gonna go through. They don't use their next shield, and I can farm them all the way down with Air Slash here. Air Slash, in my opinion, better in the lead and better as a say-swap, not as a say-swap, better in the lead or better in the closer position, which we're going to have here as a closer. As a say-swap, I would recommend you Snarl, but this game is over. The opponent decides to forfeit there. So moving on, let's take a look at the next game. We're going to have a great lead here with Alolan Muck in their lead, and they're going to swap out into the Verizia, and of course we can counter them with our Mandibuzz. They decide to go for a charge move here, and at this point of time, the opponent had enough and decides to forfeit. Easy game, I would say. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to have a Galvantula in the lead. Horrible lead for us, and it's a core breaker for both our lead as well as our Pokemon in the back, which is going to be our Mandibuzz. But what we can do here is we can stay in for a little bit, and we can maybe even get a shield with the Stone Edge, but the opponent decides to swap out into their own Mandibuss. They have 2 fast moves in, so I can go for 2 more and try to catch a move, but here is where basically our Air Slash variant comes in clutch. We're gonna do a ton of damage just by our fast move alone. They're going to outspeed me, but it doesn't really matter. They have more energy than I do as well at the current time, but it doesn't matter either, because Air Slash is going to do so much more damage than what they ever going to do here, so this is a clear matchup for me. I can go for the aerial ace and weaken them a little bit more as well, but I'm always going to go up a little bit over like foul plane level. This basically is like 99 energy at this point, which is really nice for me. So I can even deal with a potential swap in from the Galvantula later on, which can be really important for me, and here I can just win the CMP tie, knock them out, and also realign my Pokemon. So what's coming in next is going to be the Galvantula, allowing me to go for another foul play. This is gonna do some decent damage if it would connect, but it doesn't connect. I use a shield, but I can still reach another foul play, and I guess they're gonna go for the full farm down. But what they don't know is that I still have the Giratina in the back. And Giratina is resisting both the bug typing as well as the electric typing, so I don't really have to shield anything here. And as you can see here, basically all the energy they just gained completely go to waste. I am forced to swap out here now, which is okay, it's going to be against the Jellicent, but now I cleared the debuff of my Giratina, and Giratina is going to be able to beat both of the Pokemon in the back there. The Jellicent is kinda a tricky matchup sometimes, but they're gonna go for the Surf here as well, which was a huge mistake. They should have went for a Shadow Ball and tried to farm me down afterwards. But like this, we're going to be able to connect 2 Stone Edges. They're still forced to go for another charge move here. And now Giratina can just clean up this game. We have so much energy stored already. I can just go for the Dragon Claw. This should knock out the Jellicent. And then it's only going to be, okay, they're actually going to use a shield and go for their own move. I don't know what they tried to do here really. I guess hope that they're going to go for the 2-shield flex, but then it is still going to bait me. It does not make sense, but we can still win this game here with just the farm down, and we can move on into the next one. Let's take a look at the next opponent here. We're going to encounter the Charizard. This is going to be a little bit of a trickier one as well, but we can swap out into our Giratina, encountering the Poliwrath of the opponent. Shadow Poliwrath has access to the move Ice Punch, but it still does not really make any sense at all that the opponent decided to swap out of that Charizard into the Poliwrath against our Giratina, as Charizard had the better matchup, and as well as Poliwrath would have the better matchup against our lead. But I will gladly take this, as we're going to be able to get the first shield from the opponent. This will allow us to just go ahead and go for another Dragon Claw here next, and I can try to realign my Pokemon, which would be amazing for me, of course, as I don't want to face the lead there of the Charizard against our Cobalion. We can let this next move go through though, and I'm going to do this. And why did I do this? Because I can still go for a Stone Edge later on, but it turns out I don't even have to, because the opponent's final Pokemon is going to be the Virizion, and like this we're going to have a great time here. They're going to stay in and go for a Sacred Sword. This was one too short for a Stone Edge, and so we can just go ahead and get some extra energy and don't have to use a shield here. I decided to go for an Aerial Ace because I'm fairly certain I need 2 anyway to knock out the opponent's Shadow Charizard here, and I'm going to be a little bit careful with those Blast Burns, so I decide to use a shield there. They're very likely going to just bait me twice, but I'm going to be able to still reach another foul play here, and this is going to put them into the range for just the stored Sacred Sword that I still have left. And so what I'm going to do here is swap out, go for the Sacred Sword, get the easy knockout against the opponent, and this is going to be a good game to the opponent. Let's take a look here. They're going to go back into the Virizion, but what do they really want to do here? They still have to get some extra energy, but we know already they're having the Sacred Sword and very likely not the Stone Edge, so they don't really have anything to hit my Mandibuss with either, and we're going to get them low, but they kinda can perfectly farm me down. They still can go for one charge move, but we are literally one fast move away from reaching the Aerial Ace in order to win this game, and so we can move on into the next one. Let's take a look at the next opponent here. Let's see what they're going to run. We're going to get out the Machamp against us. And this was a team that I actually saw on Twitter again. This is Wholesome Team. Like, also streams on Twitch. Definitely check them out. Very nice person in general. Like, very entertaining person as well for like Twitch streams. Definitely check out Wholesome_ on Twitch, as also his official caster for Pokemon Go tournaments, for like those official ones, which is kind of cool. So let's take a look here at the team. They're going to run a Shadow variant of Snorlax in the back. I know that already. Sometimes they even have all of the 3 Pokemon Shadow, but it is a team that's kind of predictable. But I still don't really know what I really wanted to do here. until the opponent makes it a little bit easier for me later on. I'm gonna get the shield here, which is kind of nice, and I kind of want to realign because I don't want to have the Cobalion against the Machamp immediately. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use another shield, and I should be able, at this point of time, to just go for the full farm down here. And this allows me to get a ton of energy, but I know it's kind of avoided because they're going to have the Shadow Snorlax in the back, which is, yeah, kind of easily able to tank those moves, as you can see here. So I can still reach 2 more Dragon Claws, but it's not going to be as ideal for me either, as they're going to get them into, like, yellow health, but, like, what does it really help me? Like, not really that much. And so it's all down to the opponent not swapping out immediately. And this was a huge mistake by them. Yes, they can go for the superpower. They had this stored already before, I think. And like this, they're going to give me 1 extra fast move that from what I predicted here. This allows me to go for a charge move before they can go for their own charge move. And they let this move go through, allowing me to go for the full farm down with my Mandibus, and the opponent has nowhere to go anymore with their Snorlax. I can just go for 2 aerial aces, and so this is going to be a very good game against the opponent, as they're going to decide to also kind of forfeit this one. Moving on to the next game. Horrific lead for us. We're going to encounter Verizon in the lead. I can swap out into my Giratina as the opponent decides to swap out into their Steelix. They saw me here staying in the lead for a little bit and get up to a Sacred Sword. This was a very smart decision now in hindsight, because we're going to see here that they're going to have the Steelix, which is the hardest answer to my Giratina. So I'm going to not be able to get anything out of this matchup. They're going to be able to easily win this matchup here. But what they can also do is they can go for the full farm down. But also, we're going to put them into range for a Sacred Sword. And so maybe they just don't want to use a shield then, which would be really nice. And so maybe we can just get the knockout here against the opponent. And as you're going to see, the opponent is going to let this move go through. I can swap out, and they're going to have in the back the Golisopod. And so they decide to forfeit. Very lucky for us, of course, that they were double weak against the air slash variant of the Mandibus. But again, horrible lead for us. Like, basically, we never really won the leads, to be fair. And this is basically the one core breaker for the entire team. At least a lot of people would, like, maybe think here. But we can still do some damage there. And I'm just going to let this move go through. See what they're going to go for? They're going to go for a Surf, which is actually ideal for me, as I can now swap out into my Giratina. And they decide to retaliate with the Obstagoon. So far, so completely hard countered. We're going to get hard countered by both the lead as well as the Say-Swap here of the Obstagoon, which is a little bit awkward. And then go for the Night Surge. Luckily, no boost back, and go for the Dragon Claw. And again, I stored a Sacred Sword on my Cobalion, which can come in clutch very soon, as I will be able to go for another Dragon Claw. This is the only purpose of this one, is that we're going to try to get basically some time from the clock, because we kind of want to try to knock them out with a Sacred Sword here anyway. And so I can just get the shield from the opponent, have the shield advantage, and they're going to have a Giratina in the back. So we kind of got triple hard countered here, or like, kinda, honestly, it's a little bit iffy. I would say I would get kinda hard countered here, but I still can now at least lock in the opponent's Giratina against my Mandibus, and they're going to run the Dragon Claw. They're not running Ancient Power, which is really important for me, because if they would run Ancient Power, this game would be over at this point of time. But like this, I still maybe have a chance here of winning this game. Who knows? We're gonna be able to go for another foul play here. This foul play is not going to get the knockout against the opponent's Giratina, but gonna get them fairly low enough that I should be able to farm them down. And so the opponent gonna go for another charge move here. It's going to be the Dragon Claw. They still have all 3 Pokemon. They're gonna go into the Obstagoon. And this was the mistake that will cost them the game here. Again, I said before as well, I will be able to win every single game. So I will be able to just go for the Aerial Ace. I can just go ahead and now shield this next move up as well. This is going to be the Cross Chop. So if they went for this earlier on, I would have been already knocked out at this point. So another huge mistake. I can get rid of the Giratina, and something that you don't see, but I can see because I record the battles. I see the time on how long the battles are recorded at the top right, and a battle goes 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and I was like at 4 minutes and 10 seconds at this point. So I decided to go for the Dragon Claw spam. And as you see on the top, the timer is running out. They can still go for a charge move, but it's going to be a Surf, and I can still survive it, and I have 2 Pokemon left, which will be enough to take this win. And that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.